Girls, tell me about a time where your quick thinking probably saved your life.
This one time I was in Target and this girl my age came up to me and she told me I looked super familiar and she started being like, where do I know you from? Like, what high school did you go to? Whatever. And I told her and she was keeping up a lot of conversation and started talking about her and her husband's marketing company. And then we were making more small talk and I told her I was in college and she very quickly ended the conversation and just continued on. And I had this weird gut feeling. And about 5 minutes later, I overheard her in another aisle talking to another girl, but they were exchanging phone numbers to meet up for coffee to talk about a job opportunity with her marketing company. So I stopped the girl and I asked her, I was like, what did she say to you? And she said that she came up to her and said she looked really familiar and had a conversation that was nearly identical to mine, except she was still in high school, so I was too old. And it turned out she was in human trafficking and had been all over in different stores around the area.
Girls, tell me about a time where your quick thinking probably saved your life.
I was leaving the gym late at night going to my car, and there was my car and then someone else beside my car. A lady standing there at my driver's seat at her passenger seat. As soon as I left, a guy started walking right behind me. He was waiting like outside the gym. He was like right on my shoulder, right? So I'm like, I can't turn around. He's gonna friggin' stab me. They were looking at each other and I'm like, they're gonna snatch me. They're gonna take me into their car when I go over there. She's hanging out by my driver's door so that I go to my driver's door and they can snatch me away. I can't turn around. Buddy's right on my shoulder. I'm like, okay, this is what I'm gonna do. I walked up to my car. I unlocked it and I hopped in the back seat in the passenger side. And then I locked it as soon as I got it. Like as soon as I opened the door, I lock it and slide in, right? And they look at each other. They reach for my door handle, they give it a wiggle, and it was locked, so they couldn't get in. They just looked at each other and got in their car and booked it. I'm like, I think I just almost got kidnapped there. I live in a small town, so there was no one else in the parking lot. Still like super confused. I think I almost got kidnapped.
Girls, tell me about a time where your quick thinking probably saved your life.
So I used to dog sit this dog who was like really well trained. The simple stuff, you know, stay, heel, sit, lie down, roll over, play dead, whatever. But he also had an attack command. So I'm dog sitting. I was staying over at that house because they were out of town for a while. It's 3 a.m. I'm asleep. And I wake up to hearing the dog growling. So I sit up and I like look around and then I hear the door handle jiggle. And I was like, oh no. And then I hear the window rattle. So I throw myself out of bed. I open the kennel for the dog. I get him by the collar and I go into the living room. And I just kind of announced like, there's a dog. I heard the window start to slide open. So I said it again. I was like, there's a dog. I turn on the lights. I see just a dude in the fucking window. So I give this dog the attack command, let go of his collar. He goes flying across the room. And I have never heard a grown man scream like that before. It was horrifying.
Tell me about a time where your quick thinking probably saved your life.
I always tell this one. When I was working in London, I was on my way home on the tube. It was about 4 or 5 stops before I needed to get off. And I got on. And immediately I noticed these 2 men that were looking me directly in the eye. And it wasn't like checking me out, anything like that. They were looking me dead in the eye, literally like locked eyes with me. And after a few minutes, I was like, this isn't normal. This is really, really scary and really weird. So I was like, okay, next stop, I'll get off at the last minute so they can't then like follow me off of the train. So I waited and I waited and I waited just before the doors were going to close. So I jump off. And they immediately start getting their bags out. They literally start following me off the train, off into the platform. I realise that, run round to the other side of the train carriage, get back on it. They're literally running after me at this point. But luckily the door shut between us. But again, they're looking me dead in the eye. And I was so scared at the stop that I had to get off. I hid in Marks & Spencer's for like an hour just to make sure they hadn't followed me.
Girls, tell me about a time where your quick thinking probably saved your life.
My ex-boyfriend and I had just been on a date and it was our second date and he took me all the way home on like buses, trains. We just wanted to hang out basically. That's what we were doing. So we'd got on this bus which was going to take me to a station that was near where I live. As we get off the last bus, there was a guy waiting at the bus stop and he had a t-shirt over his face, right? So you could just kind of see his eyes, but it was like wrapped around his head. Me being me was like, oh hi, by the way, this was the last bus, there's not going to be another bus after this, so maybe you want to find an alternative way to get home. He was like, okay, thank you, whatever, but stayed at the bus stop where me and my ex-boyfriend were ordering our Ubers home. He was going back to his house, I was going back to my house. And I did think it was kind of weird that he was just still waiting around, that he hadn't like made any effort to like get himself home. He just stayed at the bus stop with us. My ex-boyfriend's cab came a minute before mine, so I was like, just get in it, it's fine, it's a minute, like who cares? You've come all this way with me, just get in your cab. I have to do part 2. Okay, this is my part 2. My boyfriend was honestly very like reluctant to get in the cab. He didn't want to leave me on my own, but I was like, mate, literally it's not a big deal. I could see on my Uber app where the cab was, like it was close, it was fine. So he gets in his cab and I decide I'm just going to cross the road just so that this guy was kind of like looking at me. I just thought I would cross. So I cross and I'm waiting for my Uber there. This guy then crosses the road from where we were both standing before to come and stand with me, hysterically laughing the whole time. Just like laughing, like evil laughing. And obviously my head is doing 1,000 things. Like, I'm a woman. I was like, okay, this is what I'm going to do. This is what I, like, a million things. He says to me, what's your name? I say, Jessica. He says to me, you from around here? I said, yes. It was a safe distance from where I'm actually from. But I just wanted him to think that I knew the area. He then said, like, oh, my name is whatever, but they call me this. I don't remember what it was. And he was getting very close, to the point where he was about this far away from me. Like, literally standing so close to me. I'm going to have to do part 3. Sorry. Okay, this is my part 3. So, because he was standing so close to me, all I was thinking is that I just need to get some distance. Because he can't have good intentions being so close to me, all up in my space. So I knew that I just had to get some distance between us. This was like 2 o'clock in the morning. There was like really no one around. But a car pulled up to the end of the road. And so I said to him, hey, I don't have my glasses on, so could you check that that's my Uber? This was not a Prius. This was not an Uber-looking car. It was literally just like a family car. Like, it was not. It was like a little purple family car. So I was like, it's not my Uber, but I'm just going to make him walk that way a little bit so I can at least run and knock on a door. So I said, yeah, go check. The number plate is like XYZ, whatever. He comes back and is like, nah, it's not your car. And I knew it wasn't going to be the car, so I just kind of was like, okay, next phase of the plan. And I just got this feeling. And I look him dead in his eye and I went, I don't believe you. And I walked all the way to the car. It was my Uber. I get in the car. He's ran to catch up with me. And as I'm about to close the door, he goes, it's a shame you're a smart girl. Then he ran after the car, shouting and screaming.